What if Star Citizen finally delivered PvE you actually wanted to run more than once? Not another bunker you can clear on autopilot or an outpost that feels tired on your second pass, but a space that dials up the tension, layers the gunfights, and hides a story just out of sight. With Alpha 4.3, the Onyx Facilities get us closer than we've ever been. These places carry a weight and mood that the game has not hit before, and after time inside, I think they point toward something many of us have been waiting for. A genuine dungeon-style experience inside of the verse. Patch 4.3 seeds Stanton with well over 100 Onyx facilities, and they immediately stand apart from everything that came before. Each one is entered by calling the ATC and landing in a private instance hangar. So there is no walking in from the surface. You touch down in your assigned bay, step off the pad, and descend into the facility below. The first impression hits fast. The air feels stale, and the light is low and uneven, and the space quietly tells you not to linger. These are not bunker remixes or repaints of old outposts. They feel purpose-built, with rooms and routes designed to support exploration, close quarters fights, and loot behind secured doors. Narrative content in 4.3 is intentionally light and delivered through investigation contracts. But these facilities are also setting the stage for a larger event in 4.3.1 next month. Against the backdrop of what we had before, the difference is obvious. Legacy bunkers are small and predictable, and some friendly AI will sometimes finish the job before you arrive. Distribution centers burn out after a couple of runs, which is a shame considering what they really could have been. Even Hathor and ASD facilities give you gunfights without much narrative reason to be there. Onyx facilities shift that formula. Larger, more numerous, and are designed with intent. That alone makes them feel like the groundwork for what PvE in Star Citizen could become. Onyx facilities play bigger and denser than anything that we had for PvE. You stage in a neutral lobby that works as a safe hub, then branch into separate wings that pull you in different directions. From there, the space ladders down through research labs, caverns cut into the rock, engineering bays, radiation zones, and stretches of zero-G that change how you move and fight. Some sections are tight and claustrophobic, forcing you to slow down and clear angles. Others open into tall rooms where flanking and crossfire matter more than raw aim. The variety is a real step forward. Secured caches hide high-value loot if you can get to them. There are even light traversal checks that break up the rhythm between firefights without stalling the run. Fauna appears in the mix, from Copion roaming sections to the adult Valakar, that changes the fight significantly the instant it shows up. The reward pool backs up the risk, with frequent finds like the Zenith Vault sniper rifle, Guist armor, fauna-derived materials, and a healthy spread of weapons and armor. Now, these facilities are built like a layered defense, so you can expect entry control, predictable choke points, open kill zones, and fallback positions that NPCs will use to pin you. I highly encourage you not to push blind into doorways or long straight hallways. If you get caught between a patrol, a Copion, or a player who slips in behind you, a good night can turn fast. Situational awareness is the difference between a clean extract and a medbed. Now, granted, while death is still not a major drawback right now, once Death of a Spaceman actually enters the game, consequences will be much more significant than just waking up in a medbed. Now, if you're enjoying this breakdown and want more of the updates that actually change how we play, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on what comes next with 4.3.1. The deeper you go, the more this feels like a different flavor of Star Citizen living within the same universe. Lighting is harsh and unreliable. Sound cues echo through the structure, and broken experiments sit where someone left them in a hurry. The space hums like it's still alive, but no one is home. Imagine you step into the research wing, and the only light is a flickering red lamp ahead. Your Geiger counter ticks up, and you raise your weapon, and the shadows move before your brain decides if they're hostile or not. Narrative today is intentionally thin. Investigation contracts nudge you forward, and scattered logs hint at the regen problem and what went wrong here. As it stands in 4.3, you won't get a full story arc, and that's likely by design. These facilities are positioned as part of a broader event arc for 4.3.1, and they feel like scaffolding for something larger instead of a finished narrative package, which is likely the cooperative zones that were cut from 4.3. What impresses me most is how much immersion they create with only light objective design and a handful of audio fragments. Now imagine Squadron 42 taking this same environmental pressure and blending it with deeper narrative beats, full cinematics, and scripted moments that lock in the pacing. If a few investigation missions can feel this immersive, Squadron's missions could land on another level, and that has me more excited than ever. Replayability is baked into how these locations are seeded across the system. With well over 100 facilities, player flow is naturally spread out, and the instance hangar adds a layer of isolation before you even step off the pad. Each mission brings you to your own bay with an ASOP terminal and nearby medical support. You gear up and the descent begins. Contract variety keeps things fresh. These facilities and investigation missions offer a better loop than bunkers or distribution centers ever did. But isolation does not equal safety. Players can still show, and misunderstanding can turn into hostility quickly in tight spaces. Certain sections act like natural funnels, and if you're cornered by NPCs, a Copion, or a player who saw your ship outside, the situation can spiral in seconds. These are some of the most engaging PvE spaces that we've ever had, and they demand attention from the moment you touch down to the moment you lift. The biggest win is pressure. Counters feel deliberate rather than random, and they force choices about angle, timing, and cover. Rewards match that intensity, with rare weapons, new armor, and meaningful resource drops that respect the danger you push through. Now, investigation contracts are back in rotation, and they tie in the gunfights to a reason for being here. The overall design invites repeated runs and changes your path from session to session. For the first time, PvE in Star Citizen feels like it has a backbone and a system that encourages multiple approaches and can scale into larger group challenges. On paper, the contracts are simple. Eliminate threats, gather evidence, stitch together what went wrong, but in practice, they feel more compelling than bunkers or outposts ever did. This is honestly the mark of good design. It also points to something important for Squadron 42. Where these fundamentals can be sharpened with cinematic pacing, deeper character moments, and handcrafted set pieces. If a basic loop can hold attention, those missions have a chance to be unforgettable. This is still a first pass, and it does show. Pacing is the biggest issue. Some contracts pull you halfway in and then kick you back out to a different facility to continue, and that breaks flow in a space built to build tension. Interactivity in this regard is limited. Beyond locked rooms and a few puzzle elements that aren't working, much of the research wing begs for more hands-on systems, terminals to manipulate, power or life support to reroute, or engineering mechanics that connect to resource management. The obvious missing piece is the big climactic fight at the end. The deeper you go, the more the facility escalates, but there is no unique encounter that anchors the storyline and pays off the run. Top that off with a few rough edges, and it becomes clear that this is a strong start rather than a finished package. If you take a step back and analyze what Onyx Facilities really show, you realize it's not another mission type. It's likely the future of what they want dungeons to really look like. The structure looks a lot like what you'd expect from MMO content. Controlled entry, layered encounters, and a thread that rewards repeat runs. If CIG builds on this foundation, these sites can become the backbone of PvE in the verse. The ceiling is higher than just FPS. Imagine multi-role operations where an engineering team manages power, environmental controls, and life support, while a security element clears forward rooms. Imagine a salvage crew recovering experimental wreckage, while a mining team extracts volatile resources under a timer, all while enemies try to retake the site. Each discipline can have a defined job inside of the same operation, and that turns these locations into dynamic hubs instead of just simple combat arenas. Right now, facilities operate in a very limited way, but we get a glimpse of what is possible without the full picture. If CIG moves forward with better instancing, unique boss encounters, and multi-role mechanics, Onyx Facilities can evolve from an interesting experiment into the template for narrative-driven content at scale. Now, if momentum stalls and new missions don't arrive, these could fade into the background, the way bunkers and distribution centers did. This is also where the bridge to Squadron 42 becomes obvious. The persistent universe gives us replayable contracts and emergent player stories, while Squadron will lean into scripted intensity and cinematic delivery. Seeing how far a first iteration has come makes me more confident than ever that Squadron 42 will deliver something special when these principles are fully realized. Now, in my first run of the Onyx Facilities, I pushed down into the engineering wing and moved through the first guards like I had hundreds of times in bunkers. When I hit the first chamber, the entire tone changed. An adult Valakar came out of the dark and started spitting hazardous volleys while a squad of NPCs leaned into me from cover. My ammo disappeared faster than I had expected, and I had to patch myself up more than once just to stay in the fight. I scavenged a weapon off of a fallen guard, cleared the shooters under pressure, and then focused down the Valakar in a room that felt like it wanted me gone. It honestly was one of the most intense fights that I've had in Star Citizen PvE in a long time. Now, if these locations keep delivering moments like that, and CIG leans into building more missions on top of them, they could become the best repeatable PvE content in the game. To me, this is what distribution centers really should have been the day they launched. The Onyx Facilities are not perfect, but they are the closest that Star Citizen has come to true dungeon-style PvE. They're expansive, atmospheric, and most importantly, they pressure you to make decisions that matter. CIG really needs to keep building this design and fundamentally change how we approach PvE in the verse. But what about you? Do these push you towards spending more time underground if bosses and multi-role gameplay arrive? Or do you think they risk becoming another forgotten feature? Drop your take in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you want to support deeper coverage like this, consider becoming a channel member. You'll get behind-the-scenes updates, access to members-only Discord channels, and a voice in shaping future topics. And if you missed last week's video, I broke down the engineering changes that will make ships play completely differently once they land, and ties directly into why facilities like these really matter. As always, thanks for watching. Fly safe, pilots, and I'll see you in the verse. Havoc out.